I'm gonna whip out the Mac Morrison.
Okay, sure.
Return of the
Are
Mac.
you just gonna play it right here?
Yeah, I'm just gonna play it next to the microphone a little bit.
Why?
Because I thought it'd be funny. Oh, geez, that's really loud.
We hope that the mic catches it.
When you broke my heart.
Why?
Oh, we should probably skip to the hook. That's the part that's the best part of the song. Did you know Mac Morrison is British?
He's what?
Did you know he's British?
No.
Turn of the pod. Return of the pod. Return of the pod.
Once it's a return.
You know that I'm gonna pod.
We took a break. We're fine.
Well, yeah,
we're fine.
I would say it's a return.
Okay.
What is it like? You ever seen the memes on Twitter where like someone's like comes back and it's like Return of the King? It's like the title card from the Lord of the Rings movie.
That's how they reacted when Salmonella Academy came back.
Mm.
Yeah, like he posted a video this year and people went like nutty. And
They came in their pants.
I'm a fan of Salmonella Academy. Same with Casually.
I thought you were gonna say I'm a fan of Salmonella.
No.
I
Or
love
like Casually Explained.
Oh,
He was gone for like I think a year and a half, just like going through like some things,
dude,
and then he just came out of nowhere. And, like
we're just like him. We were going through some things.
we were, dude. It's
been it's been a minute. It's been what was H5 2000? It was recorded in 2019. And
Was that the one with the
Panic?
Yeah, that was the one with Panic.
The tape recorder, yeah.
Yeah, tape recorder.
God,
and
that was
dropped
that was a whole fucking process.
Yeah. So is this what is this 5.5?
5.5. It's like one of those Disney. It's like a Lion King 1.5. It's that Disney direct to video sequel.
Right. Okay.
But
Yeah, dude, it's
I mean, which makes sense because it's going direct to video. We're going on YouTube, so like
right.
yeah.
Well, we went through pandemic. We're still here.
Right. I mean, it's been 3 years. I'm curious. We can start with you. You don't have to go too personal, but I'm sure we both been through
Right.
stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm married.
That's major, bro.
That's major.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I've probably said it like 5 million times.
I'm pretty sure a good amount of people are aware of it now.
Right.
But yeah, that's the biggest change for me. Married, moved out, still working the same job, just like more responsibilities. But that's pretty much what occupied most of my time now. And it's just in the last year I started just kind of really getting back into the routine I lost at the beginning of 2020.
Right.
Like, I had like a bit of imposter syndrome because like during the pandemic, everyone's all freaking out, and I stopped working out. Obviously, I stopped working out because
I think
gyms
a lot of
were
people.
closed
I think a
and
lot of people stopped working out.
a lot of people stopped. A lot of people started.
Yes.
A lot of people started like going
One door
outside.
opens, another closes, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think during that time, like people were going out and running and walking and stuff like that. Just because when you're locked in the house, it's like you get cabin fever.
Oh my god.
But I actually started running in 2020 at one point just to relieve the stress, and during my time when I had like 2 weeks of like 2 weeks off because my company was like, all right, well, fine. Apparently this is dangerous. We'll give you 2 weeks paid. And that was like unheard of. And then during those 2 weeks, I ran every day. And then they said, all right, come back to work, even though everything is still
Like, all right. It's
Yeah.
enough of that shit.
So jokingly, I tell people like I technically did work through pandemic because my company just did not shut down. Everything slowed down, but we were still required to be at work every day.
It's funny you say that. I don't want to cut you off, but like my
Same thing
company,
here. Same.
well, my company never stopped,
Yeah.
but they just ramped up production.
Yeah. Well, because everyone was coming to your place to just build.
People were coming to where I work with like a bunch of that COVID money, and they were bored, and they're like, "Oh, let's work on our house."
Yeah. Well, what do we do when we're locked inside?
Right.
Yeah, but then after that,
Which means more freight comes in, and that means a whole bunch of shit.
and you guys weren't hiring like crazy. You just had the crew you had.
Well, we were hiring, but people wouldn't stick around. There was such a turnaround.
You get hazard pay.
We did for like a month. For like
That's
a
it?
month.
And
Yeah,
then they're
no.
like, yeah, you don't need any more.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's
That's rough.
Oh, we should probably say what this is. This is the Tokyo Podfathers. This is, I guess, the 5th and a half hentai episode. I don't know what it is. We're
I'd say more or less.
I guess I should explain.
Sure.
So we haven't done an episode in a while.
Yeah.
We like hanging out. We like recording podcasts, and we thought I suggested like, hey, what if we just did like a sort of hentai episode, but not really one, but it's like yes and no kind of thing.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, why don't we do it in person? Why not have fun with that?
Right. Like, wait, is this technically?
Well, we had
for the entire history of the Podfathers.
I think it's the first one where people are in the same room, because we've had live streams where we showed our face.
Right. Also, but this is the first like the first face to face.
We're in the yes.
Nice. Well, welcome.
We fucking did it.
Yeah, we did it.
I wanted to be the first person to do that, and it's easy because we both live on the same coast of the country.
I mean the Podfather crew, and I'm so grateful to everyone there. But the thing that's rough though is that we're all in different time zones, and again, the past 3 to 4 years, each member has had major changes to their lives. And the expectation of us trying to always post is harder.
Time is not on our side. We are getting older.
Right.
We are getting more responsibilities.
Yeah.
We're all getting to that point in our life where we kind of have to, I don't know how to say this, kind of grow up a little bit.
Right.
We don't have the plethora of free time we did like 4 years ago.
And on top of that, the podcast as well as like the entire channel, this isn't our job.
It's not.
It's a hobby.
It never has been our job. No. It has always been a hobby.
It's a hobby, a fun project, a passion project.
Yes.
To a lot of us.
These hentai episodes in particular have always been a passion project of mine.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm grateful for everyone in our crew, mainly because there isn't this big push of trying to be big.
We kind of had a push. I don't want to like say it like as a diss. There was a point where we were really trying to push, really trying to like, get like sponsorships or like collaborations and all that stuff.
We were close. Almost got the Faku one.
We almost did.
Yeah.
But I think but that all changed when the Fire Nation, aka COVID, attacked. Seriously.
Really? No, yeah, because we all had our own things to take care of.
And we were like, at first we were like, oh, we have all this free time. That means more pods. And it's like, it kind of did the opposite. We actually, I think, dropped less pods now that everyone was like, well, now I have other things I have to do.
Right.
It was like an avenue. It was a intersection of like COVID just being what it is, what continues to be.
Right.
And we're all just kind of like at that age where like we're just kind of doing our own thing.
Yeah.
We're all going on our own journeys.
We have our own priorities that we need to take care of.
To quote like Bone Thugs, like, see you at the crossroads. I mean, I know that's about death, but like, we'll be at crossroads. It'll never be like parallel.
Yeah. So, but to like move forward beyond like podcast, future career talk. I don't want this to be like a meeting.
Right. Oh, we haven't had one of those in years.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't mind like
I also don't want this episode to be just airing dirty lunch.
Right. But pretty much, yeah, after I got married and kind of started getting back into it, in terms of like the hobby itself, like anime and video games, I haven't kept up with airing seasonal anime since like 2018. I will admit the girlfriend, now wife, did take up a good amount of my time, and we both share the same hobby.
That's way better than watching anime.
I don't want to meld on too much, but I'm forever grateful to her, But like, the thing is, it's like I can't do seasonals anymore because, like you said, time is very limited.
And let's be honest, I don't want to come off like a big elitist, but like most of those shows you probably don't need to watch.
Correct. And that's why I mainly look to you, my own close friend crew, for recommendations. Because I remember Shaw had a very good question during one of the episodes way back. The question was, what was the most forgettable 8 out of 10 anime that you watched?
And I'm thinking, like, if it's 8 out of 10, why would I forget that, right?
Correct. And the thing is, at the time, like, I'm a big believer of how powerful recency bias is. Because you just watched it, everyone's talking about it, every discussion thread is clamoring over this anime. It's the big thing of this year. I feel like naturally people rate it higher because of the bravado. Not saying everyone does that. There are people who are actually...
But it has an effect.
It does have an effect. Does it have an effect on me? Maybe, because I've looked at my anime list recently, and there's a lot of anime. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. Wow, 7 out of 10. I gave that pretty high score. And then I tried to think back. I watched the opening, and I was like, was this really that good? Or did I just like it because it was the newest thing that made an impression on me. And so my rankings and ratings for anime has changed drastically. But from there on out, even in pandemic and forward, I haven't watched much. Like, my brain is still stuck in 2018, 2019 seasonals. I try to keep up with it now, but I've now made like a decision of like, I will only watch based off recommendation. And if I truly don't like something, I'm not going to force myself to finish.
Right.
And I'm not going to shame myself for that. And on the other side, I've actually wanted to start knocking out anime that are not really classics, but if someone tells me saying, hey, this series, best of all time, doesn't really get talked about anymore, you need to check it out, I will respect that recommendation and actually go forward with it. You know, I'm someone that still has yet to consume Berserk. And in the past couple of years, the creator of Berserk is no longer with us. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that's going to be the catalyst to get me into that franchise, but I started to think back, like, if anime wasn't being produced so heavily and so, you know, massively...
Mass-produced, yes.
Mass-produced, thank you. All of us as anime fans should take time to step back and go look at the old series that are really good and give them time to, like, you know, give our time to it. Right? I want to watch Legend of Galactic Heroes. Right. I want to join that club, you know?
I was gonna save this for later, like when we talk about like maybe like
I'll just go for
conventions or something. Yeah, but one thing we went to SoccerCon this weekend.
Yeah, SoccerCon 2023.
And one thing that I had noticed, and maybe that's just me because I'm looking for it, but one thing I noticed is there's a real lack of like cosplay for like series before 2007.
Wow. Well, when you cosplay,
when we saw the Tsukasa from Lucky Star cosplay, I was like, I would love to get shit, right?
I would have loved to get that picture, but we were trying to get out of there.
Yeah.
We saw Flow live. Very fun concert.
We
saw Jibunwo live, dude. Dude, play that clip. Pull it up. If you put it in, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, I might just do it.
Pull it up. Yeah. You're right though. Like, you saw one Record 7.
It's also like I don't recognize a lot of stuff because I don't recognize a lot of stuff from now because I haven't watched anime airing since maybe 2016.
So yeah.
And now I don't even really keep tabs on anime itself.
Same.
I watch movies now. I work out like all the time now. I work. I have a life outside of, you know, the podcast. I have a life outside of anime. I'll get back to it. I don't know if I say I'll get back to anime at some point, but even then I don't have a definite time frame for that. I don't know if I'll ever get back to anime. I think maybe it's just something I've moved on from. That was just a phase in my life.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It's always something you're going to love and respect, and you're always going to hear about it, especially with today how anime is,
because most of my online friends I met through like either in person or just I've come to know online is through anime.
Right.
So a lot of them still keep up with anime, and I'm just like, I notice I have less and less to talk about with them because I don't keep up with anime.
Yeah.
And I feel, I don't know if alienated is the right word, but I do feel like, oh, it's kind of like, do I move on from this person? I don't know.
I wouldn't say you have to move on from that person, but it does show that how big this medium was in terms of having people connect, which is why I still to this day am a fan of conventions. I'm not saying, and we've had this on past episodes about conventions, and I do want to do like a 100% convention.
You have to redux that, yeah.
But it is really nice when fans of the same thing do kind of like find each other and come together. Of course, in this day and age, there's like 100 million Demon Slayer fans. You know what I mean? Like the amount of Demon Slayer cosplays that we saw.
To be fair, Demon Slayer was a huge fucking hit.
It is. It's huge. I acknowledge it. It is amazing. I haven't kept up with it. The last thing I saw was just the Train movie. But my point is like, the fact that like you have that small connection is good, but it feels like we have an even stronger connection with anime that really isn't talked about anymore, right? You saw Record 7 cosplay.
I saw that and I was like,
and on both
you don't see that every day.
Yeah, on both ends, you were happy the fact that you saw someone was acknowledging Eureka 7, and that cosplayer was probably very happy that you were someone that noticed.
I explicitly told her, like, I was taking her picture of her cosplay, and I said, I almost never see Eureka 7 cosplay anymore.
Right. And that's, we can only hope that that's a good feeling for that cosplayer. Because, again, I'm not saying all cosplayers are like this, but, you know, when you cosplay, you do kind of hope someone asks for your photo. You worked hard to put this together. You were excited for this. You're not going to wear this every day. This is the time to wear it.
This is the one time of the year to do it.
And this is the place where people are going to notice.
Right.
So in general, you hope that someone notices you and takes your picture, or at least says, hey, I like your cosplay. There are times I did do that where I saw something, I'm like, hey, I really like that, you know, like respect, right? I remember my buddy, 𝒏𝒕��, shout out to him. There was a lot of Maple Story representation at this convention, both in merchandise and apparently in cosplay, because he saw someone cosplaying as a Maple Story famous character. And when he took that picture of that cosplayer, the Maple Story character said, hey, you are the first one to even notice what I'm cosplaying as. And that's a big deal. I don't know where I'm really going with this, but you could almost say, like, in terms of things like cosplay and just the kind of anime that's popular today, I feel like it's really hard for anime fans today to really connect because of how much there is. Not every anime fan plays Genshin Impact. Not every Genshin Impact player watches the anime that we're watching or that they're watching. To kind of look back at this one video that Giga talks about, he makes a point saying it's very common now for a group of people to be anime fans, but to not be able to connect with what they're into.
It's so diversified now as far as like
it's almost
what
too much.
Comes out. Yeah, there's so much stuff that you could just be into in one corner of, like, you like these types of shows,
right?
Or you're just interested in this one type of show, and that's all you do. It's just like it's become so niche. Even like it's become so, anime as a whole has become more mainstream, but like the communities within anime has become more and more like deeper.
Yeah. So like if you're into Demon Slayer, like My Hero, those groups are massive, right? So much support. And on the other side, depending on what you're into, whether it's like the idol stuff and like the Genshin Impacts and
although to be fair, I see a lot of Genshin Impact cosplay like that.
There's a lot of Genshin Impact, a lot of Hololive, and I haven't gotten into any of those. During pandemic, I tried Genshin Impact, and I get it, but
didn't make an impact on you.
didn't make an impact on me.
Hey,
hey,
Jack Reacher.
Shout out to Mark Norman. I actually discovered Mark Norman during pandemic as well. A lot of I consumed so much more stand-up comedy during 2020 that it actually did get me through. I'm big on just comedy in general, as a lot of you.
You have been for a long time, but it seems like now we've met up during the pandemic. It was like we first met up for the first time.
Was it 2021?
2022 for the Dragon Force concert.
Right.
We met up 4 times last year. I made it a point to meet up with you as much as I could last year, just to make up for the years that I didn't.
Lost time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the last time we saw each other was 2019 KomoriCon, which it felt a lot longer, but it was only like 3 years? About 3 years.
Goodness, 3 years has gone by.
Right. Where was I going with this point? Okay.
Genshin Impact.
Oh, Genshin Impact,
Jack
and then
Reacher, comedy.
I'm
into comedy. I've always been a purveyor of comedy.
Right.
Got into it.
Yeah. No, I've noticed every time I come here, you always put on like stand up. That's all.
So, and that's a weird thing about me.
That seems to be almost like your background noise for you.
It really is. I listen to so many stand-up specials. I'm pretty much on top of it in terms of like the stand-up comedy scene.
Right.
Who's the new players in the game? Whose podcasts are popping off? Who's a guest of whatever podcast? All my favorite comedians.
It's all very interconnected.
Yeah, if they have like a new special coming out.
You find one person, you probably you probably could discover like 5 more other people that
All
are
the
similar
time.
to
And that's the funny. So to go on like a small thing about stand-up comedians on each other's podcasts or stand-up comedians talking about other comedians, it's always the same thing. Very, very rarely, and I don't think it even happens at all at this point because they want to protect themselves. Comedians don't really talk about other comedians that they don't like, or they talk garbage about them. They never say, "Oh, that one comedian, I don't like him. He's not funny. He's hacky."
It's tacky to do that. It's a
Of
bad
course.
look.
Very, very bad look. So almost all the time, if they do talk about a comedian that isn't the greatest, they just don't say the name. They just go like, "We know some people who act like this," and they're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," yeah. And then they just move on.
It's easier to just name like anonymous enemies. Yeah.
Right. But then all comedians, they always do the same thing. Like whether it's on Joe Rogan and stuff like that, they're just like, "Dude, this one comedian crushes, hardest follow. I was dying. I was crying laughing." They say it with every single comedian all the time. "Hey, have you heard this comedian? Oh, underrated." They say every comedian's underrated. But there are a lot out there. But I do have a specific core that I do follow almost religiously, to the point where last year and this year I saw all of my favorite comedians except for like 2 more live. One of them is obviously not going to happen because they're so big, and I understand that. But I saw a lot of my favorite comedians live last year, and I was just happy to be in their presence. It wasn't anything big, you know. I didn't want to see them face to face or get autographs. I just wanted that experience of being at a comedy show, and it is something I always have on background all the time. And like I went into details with my wife about it. Just like it's something that does kind of like get me through in general. I generally enjoy laughter, making jokes, and making other people laugh. And again, like I even went as far as like pursuing it a little bit. I don't think I ever had the guts to do an open mic in my local city, but at SoccerCon,
How's your tight 5?
it's not tied up because the material that I have written up is only for anime fans, which is why I do my own panel at conventions. 2 days ago, I did obviously the anime offensive show.
Good show.
Thank you. And that was like my actual first time doing my anime style stand-up set in full. And fun fact, I forgot a joke. That's how nervous I was. But
Happens.
It seems to work, but can I actually do that at an open mic? Probably not, because not everyone at an open mic at a bar or at like whatever is a fan of anime. So I'd have to like recreate my materials.
I mean, you can't be Lisa Wallen.
Yeah, and oh, fun fact, she was there at SoccerCon. Did you see her? I don't want to get too dramatic, but did you see her tweets?
No, because I'm not on Twitter.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
So she was complaining on Twitter that she did her own stand-up panel.
Oh, I wish we went to that. Fuck.
I didn't. I've always wanted to see her live.
Right, same.
Always. And it's funny, like I've interacted with her a few times talking about stand-up and like, "Oh, where are you gonna perform next? I want to see you live," and like I'm gonna do this and that kind of deal. Like I asked her like, "Are you gonna perform at AX?" Because I was thinking about performing at AX, and then she was like, "Don't do it because they're gonna put you on the community stage. It's hard to do stand-up when everyone's walking around at the exhibition."
Oh, fuck
hall.
that.
And I was like, "True. Like someone can't walk in halfway through a joke and be like, that was funny." But the drama that happened was, she showed up at her panel, and obviously her first complaint was like, you don't give panelists for free passes, okay. But she was 5 minutes into her set without a mask, and a volunteer staff member interrupted her set and said, "You're done. You're not wearing a mask during your panel. We're stopping everything."
They didn't even just ask her to put one on?
No.
Wow.
No.
Which is interesting because one thing I've noticed is like, well, they don't always enforce it, which is one thing. But when we were getting autographs, they were like,
Very.
yeah,
Yeah, because they're Japanese guests, flow,
right,
all that stuff.
of course.
So,
But it's weird. I mean, I don't know the whole story yet, but I will say that is odd that they don't ask her to just put one on.
right.
Give her a warning. Do that before
That's
you,
what she was
before you
asking
boot her
for.
out. Yeah.
She was like, I think the show did go on after because she had to fight it, saying, "Hey, like, come on, you never gave me a warning. You're just trying to cancel the entire show." And there's a video of her like recording her, you know, the generic like, "Oh no, look what's happening." But that's to summarize what's going on. And almost every tweet from that point onward was, although SoccerCon is the worst convention here, F SoccerCon because this is here. But hey, I have found some friends. Although SoccerCon is terrible, like she keeps on hammering away that this convention treated her wrongly. When, in my opinion, I think like a volunteer just kind of jumped the gun.
Yeah, it seems like they. You know, well, we could talk about the fact that volunteers are not suited for these things.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I it's very unfortunate that she had that experience because
when you get volunteers, you just get anybody,
right? And to wrap that up, like I really wanted to see her live at some point. The fact that we
what day did she perform?
No idea. It was either Saturday or I think it was Saturday.
Fuck.
I think I didn't know what her panel was called. Like I should have checked Twitter. I don't check social media when I'm at a convention.
Yeah, no, because
the
there's
bandwidth
no
is
fucking
horrible.
Yeah, there's no fucking internet.
There's no internet. Yeah,
there's no fucking internet.
Yeah, Artist Alley was.
Shout out to any artist that has to do this kind
transactions
of
over like PayPal.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
braver than the troops,
for sure. I don't know about that, but the thing is going back to it. I do want to see her live, and like she's moving to California, so I hope.
She's moving to California.
Yeah.
Dang.
I think she's moving like in June.
Well, she's like also a Twitch streamer too. I think.
Right.
She works for some.
She's affiliated
streaming.
and everything.
Yeah. Fuck.
So, but that's the thing. Like, I'm hoping she drops dates for like a couple more shows in Seattle because I'm actually gonna go and just be like, hey, big fan. Finally get to see your stuff live. You know, I don't want to do anything along the lines of, I do anime comedy too.
Do you want to collaborate?
No,
no.
I think that's so cringy. Me, like, I talked with my associate who helped me with the Anime Offensive show. And he was asking me days before the show when we were preparing, like, how do you want me presented? What do you want to leave? All this stuff. And I summarized it. I said, I just want to go to the show, crush, leave.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to promote. I'm not trying to promote my social media. I'm not trying to get famous.
I don't think you have to promote.
Exactly.
Because you know, we've been doing this for, well, I mean, we've been going to conventions together for a while.
You know, it's like 7 years now. Right?
Yeah. And from what I noticed, you don't even have to promote because people fucking line up.
That too. Well, apparently there were some people I should have talked to.
Even when you and I we did a panel together at KomoriCon 2019.
Yeah.
They don't even know who I am. They don't even know who you are. People fucking lined up though.
Yeah. That was really late though. It was like 11:30 when we started.
Yeah, that
was
crazy.
It wasn't a packed house, but
there was quite a few people, yeah.
Yeah, but the amount of people that came to this one, I think a good portion of them were returning fans.
You're playing on home field.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, because I did Anime Offensive show from 20.
You've been doing this for a while.
I did it from 2015 to 20. It was like 2014 to 2017. Then 2018, I didn't do it because that was the year I went to Japan, and I went to Japan during SoccerCon.
Right.
So choose SoccerCon or Japan.
Oh yeah, Japan.
Easy question. Easy. 2019, I didn't do the panel at all because I had no material. I had nothing to present, and again, I was dating the future wife, and there were a handful of people that came up to me and my friend saying, "Are you doing the show?" And that almost broke my heart.
It's
like,
almost kind of become a staple of SoccerCon at this point. For some people,
that's so weird for me to hear, man.
Right?
For real, like
you're the next Zap Brannigan.
No. I will never be as big as the Zap Brannigan show.
No, you won't have like 4 fucking shows a weekend. I'm like,
that's too much.
That's so much.
That's an actual stand-up comedian. Because comedians, when they visit a town, they do like 3 shows per night starting Thursday, and then they fly out Sunday. And that is a lot of energy, right?
Yeah.
You saw how stressed out I was Friday night.
He must get paid for doing that shit or something. Because like...
Well, no, he's part of staff.
Oh.
To my knowledge, he's part of staff, I think.
Oh, he's not a volunteer. He actually gets paid for that shit.
No, I don't think he gets paid.
Oh, wow.
Well, you think anyone at SoccerCon gets paid?
Let's go
to volunteers.
I think people who work at SoccerCon probably should get paid for what they do. Even if they're not good at it. I don't care.
Well, it's labor.
It's labor.
It's labor. But
call me a communist, but it's all labor. It should be...
Well, that's the thing with conventions. You need to make it appealing to actually volunteer, right? Because if it's appealing to volunteer for this convention...
There's got to be an incentive. Either you pay them or you offer them something they can't get anywhere else.
Correct. And it's that's important, but and the very fact that we see very little volunteers for this convention.
They're even like like days leading up to the con, they're still asking for volunteers.
Right.
And it's like, that's not a good look.
Yeah.
That's a bad sign.
And they don't advertise what you get as a volunteer. They should advertise that opening.
They should be really upfront about that.
Yeah. Hey, if you volunteer, you get a free pass. You get first dibs on the exhibition and artist.
I think it should almost be like marketed like an AX Premier Pass or something, but like the thing is you have to turn in some of your time.
Right. Yeah, and speak of AX, it's like there's no negative side of quitting on the spot, because there was one year, I think it was 2017 or 2018, where AX got so packed, so dangerous, and everyone's hot, everyone is stressed out of their minds. There were volunteers at AX that quit in droves. It got so crazy because everyone's yelling at the people who have the walkie-talkies like, you don't know what's going on, this is ridiculous, blah blah blah, people are fainting outside, what are you doing? And some of these volunteers just walked away, took their walkies.
Man, if
off
I was in
the
that
desk and
situation, I'd probably do the same thing.
right, and I don't blame them, but that just shows like,
I think a lot of these people that also sign up don't know what they're getting into at the same time.
right.
They don't really market like, here's what's like required of you. Here's what you're probably going to experience.
They probably are like, there is probably like a giant meeting of here's what's going to happen. But you have to keep in mind too, when you're just at the lowest tier of volunteer, like a grunt, they're just going to put you somewhere and give you one specific command.
There's not a whole lot of like taught skills. There's like, even though there should be, this is a job.
Yeah, and at the same time, it's like some of them don't even know where they're going to be stationed at.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're at the ticketing booth. Your job is to hold this sign up, and it's going to point to where the end of the line is, and that's all they do.
Right.
And then people get frustrated when they ask them a question that they don't know. They'll say, hey, I know you're at the end of the line, but when do exhibition hall doors
You're
open?
covering for departments that you don't know about.
Yeah, and then like people get mad where it's like, hey, what time does Artist Alley open? I don't know actually. And people go,
Well, then what the fuck?
yeah, they're like, why are you here working then?
Right.
You know? So I feel like from the beginning there should be a set standard of what you need to know right off the bat, or at least have a go-to lead. Like, as I like to use the term, who's your guy?
Who's your team lead?
Who's your TL, right? So then you do something like, when's this one industry panel for Studio Ghibli? 1 second here. When's the Studio Ghibli panel? 10 o'clock at exhibition hall.
They should have it available on their phones or something. Have like a work phone or something,
phone, walkie,
or a clipboard or something.
Because with that in mind, you need to.
It seems like they're not given the tools for success, and they're just kind of thrown out in the wild. And it's like, dude, it's like throwing like baby birds to fly, but it's like, they're just gonna fucking drop on the floor.
Exactly, and it's really rough when you see volunteers kind of like drained.
Yeah, every time I see volunteers, it's like, oh god, you look tired.
You look rough,
dude.
You're doing this for free.
Yeah, and I'm like, for free? Hell no. I've always found that volunteer work is a huge meme. Like I've done volunteer work for a while, like, and I was told, I had the carrot dangled in front of me that I would get like a job. Like a permanent position there, and it never fucking came. And that is, maybe I'm a little burned on that. That's why I'm a little bitter. But I also think, having people work for no money is total bullshit. That's just my opinion. But
right, like you must really love whatever this is in order to do it for free.
But even then, capitalizing on the love that people have for this,
it's the ultimate test of like if you love your job, you don't care how much you get paid. And here's the test of it. But every single volunteer does not.
That's one thing, but in this case, you're not even getting paid.
Yeah. So to my knowledge, again, like,
well, I also know that like the people that run SoccerCon are nonprofit. They're a nonprofit foundation.
Yeah, they're a foundation that's more about spreading culture.
And then I have to wonder why they keep raising the prices for registration every fucking year. And I'm like, where does that money go?
Don't get me started on that.
If it's not going to the employees, if it's not going to the workers,
a pop,
bro. If it's not going to the people that make this work, where the hell does it go? I know insurance isn't going to, unless insurance for like, because I know there's a huge like insurance deposit for renting out the entire convention center.
And there was a new convention center that was built, which we understand. But on top of that,
does that mean the rent or I guess the deposit for that if it's a bigger building, costs more, and if it's newer, then it
Probably.
costs more. Maybe,
Maybe,
but I feel like they should be a little bit more upfront about why these prices keep rising, as opposed to just kind of acting like, oh, this is just like what it is every year. And I'm like, no, it's
Right.
not. It seems like we're getting the same quality of product, but we're paying higher for it every time.
Yeah, and they are skimping on all these things across the board.
Things that they should have been improving, because they've been around for what, 25 years, 26 years?
25 years.
Yeah,
This
they
year's
just celebrated
25.
25 years. And if you don't have your shit down, I understand COVID is a thing, but if you don't have your shit together in 25 years,
Right. Yeah, and that's one thing that was kind of rough, because you could see what they were skimping, and we're not sure if it was for good reason. Number one, when you get your pass, you got your pass, but it wasn't inside a plastic glassine,
notice that, yeah.
and it's raining out. But they're like, no plastic glassine, but you get a lanyard and your pass is a piece of paper. And
Yeah, they should have made it like, I guess they won't. I was going to suggest plastic, but that is
yeah,
takes 500 years to decompose. So
sure,
whatever.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we have an arena in this city called Climate Pledge Arena. Maybe that's what.
I always thought it was Climate Pleasure Arena. I was like, oh yeah,
yeah, like fondling the clouds. Like,
oh.
But then on top of that, they stopped printing paper schedules. The paper schedules told you where this panel was, what time, and on what day. Right, very useful. Instead, everyone had to use an app on their website on their phone,
Which I don't mind. I don't mind.
either.
It's
Saves
nice.
paper,
You don't have to carry around more shit. Last thing we need is more shit.
True, but we're at a convention.
Not everyone is going to be on that app, because not everyone is like, glued to their phones, right?
Right,
But
and at the same time, let's not forget no internet.
right, you
at
cannot
this
expect
convention
people to be on the app when we can't use the fucking internet.
Yeah, and that again, another thing that's very, I'm not sure if this is by SoccerCon's rule or by the convention center's rule.
I'm sure the convention center is charging for. They're obviously
So
charging
convention
for.
center internet costs $80 a day
So imagine being there for all 3 days of SoccerCon. That's $240
for internet.
just for internet, just to check an app
right,
at most,
right.
or checking your Twitter. But like, that's ridiculous.
It is.
On top of the $100 you already have to pay for just getting in to the fucking building. And now that they charge for autographs, which is fine, whatever.
Fine.
That's
I understand that.
yeah.
I think what it also does, it does mitigate kind of like people who are trying to scalp autographs. One of our close friends is a huge pop collector.
He is.
And the Funko Pop.
We respect that.
Yeah, and the Funko Pop game was ruined by flippers who would just get a bunch of pops signed by the same person and then just flip them online for
Nasty.
double the price. And again, so I understand that. They're like, whatever. But in terms of going back to what you said about how like there are no improvements to the convention, I mean, you've come with me to SoccerCon quite a few times already, and the two separate buildings.
I've seen it pre-COVID and I guess post-COVID. Well, pre-2020 and post-2020, yeah.
Right. And the two separate buildings for this year was a pretty good idea. I do understand some of the gripes of
I guess we could talk about a little bit about like what we liked about SoccerCon this year.
Sure.
One, Artist Alley has its own hall.
Massive,
huge. It's the biggest I've ever seen Artist Alley here.
And there's more room to walk.
There's so
More
in comparison
artists.
to last year, they put it in
Downstairs,
where they used to have registration. They had registration above that.
yeah, and below was Artist Alley,
And it was so fucking cramped in there.
and smelly and hot.
And there was barely that many vendors,
Right.
as far as or that many artists there selling their
Right.
stuff.
And that's the thing. When it's really crowded, it does. It's a hard time.
It's stressful, and I don't really want to be in that area.
Yes. I think that's one complaint I have in terms
And
of
it seems like they kind of course corrected that by putting it up where they used to have the exhibit hall.
right. And there's a lot of science behind just kind of like how consumers buy things kind of deal, and window shop and everything like that.
If you have more time to just look at something and think about it, chances are you might actually buy it later on.
Right. Oh, that is why Anime Expo's Artist Alley is a nightmare.
Well, Anime Expo just is a nightmare in every regard, it seems like.
But like, it's so, when an area is very cramped and there's one flow of traffic and you feel like you're blocking the way.
Because you probably are.
Just by looking at an artist.
Which is what you're supposed to be doing. You're just window shopping. That's the whole point of these.
The thing is, you're looking and you're trying to figure out, like, you want to interact with the artist. How much? Oh, what's this? How many? Let me think.
Is there a deal like buy two get one free or whatever?
You're doing your budget.
Yeah.
In your head.
You kind of make you have to figure out like, is this worth the value, the very limited real estate that I have and where I live or whatever. Right. Yeah.
And it's stressful when you have a backpack
and you're doing all of this really fucking quickly, and then everyone's moving like 50 miles a minute.
Right.
And you got bags on you, and everyone else has bags on them.
Bumping, and you're just, excuse me, sorry. And then other people behind you are looking too, and then all of a sudden you cause a traffic jam.
But this year it was nice. There was a few vendors who had like crowds behind them, but I never felt like I was in the way.
Right.
I was just like, oh, I could just stand here and just like kind of take this in a little bit.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to do, because you never know what you find at Artist Alley, regardless of how much money you plan on spending. Like, I placed a bet on myself to see if I really was going to spend money at this convention, and I lost that bet. Day 2, give me credit. Day 1, I did.
God, I spent the most I've spent at SoccerCon in a while.
What was your overall budget? I did everything together.
I didn't have a budget because I was like, I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to get
right now.
Oh, yeah, I spent a lot on my posters.
They're very nice.
They're very nice. I'm glad I got them. I don't feel like, because we've talked about this on the first conventions episode all the way in like 2016.
Yeah.
But when I first went to SoccerCon, it was my first convention, so I was pretty fucking stupid, right?
Everyone is at their first convention.
And I was like, oh, look at all this stuff. Oh my god,
more
this is cool. And then you realize,
what was the dumbest thing you bought that year?
So there was the body pillow that I bought, which
the horror he bought.
Yeah, I didn't really want to say which character, but yeah, since you mentioned it. But the stupidest thing I ever bought there was I bought some CDs of all of the Monogatari openings.
Oh.
Up until like the year 2016.
I don't remember this.
I did buy that.
Okay.
It cost me about $30.
Okay.
They're all Japanese CDs, so I don't know if there's like a region lock on them or whatever.
No, there usually isn't.
Okay. I've never listened to it.
Still sealed?
Yeah.
How much is it worth now?
Probably less.
Oh.
But it's one of those things where I'm like, that seems kind of cool. Like own a CD, and I just bought that. I don't know why.
I did the same thing.
I also bought a bunch of DVDs that I probably could have bought on Amazon.
Right.
Remember when I bought Aria and the vendor was like Canadian, right? So I tried putting my card through and my bank froze my card for a second.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, Canadian transaction. Yeah.
Well, it's Canadian transaction, and it was like about $100 worth of DVDs. And I was like, and they're like, oh, what are you trying to do, bro? Right?
I mean, if anything,
my bank,
the best financial.
I call my bank and I'm just like, they're like, so are you trying to like buy something from Canada? I'm like, yeah, I'm buying some anime. And they're like, you fucking weeb. And I'm like, I know, dude.
I remember that year you were on the phone for like a good.
I missed the Kids Niver premiere. Yeah,
you did miss the Kids.
Yeah.
Wow, that was the year Kids Niver came out.
I know. Don't you feel old yet?
I do feel old, man. I feel old all the time.
Oh my god.
But going back to it, it's like.
But now that I
spent like $110 on my end, and you're right, we're a lot more.
So like altogether, I spent about $500 in like merch that year.
Really?
500.
I didn't know it was that high.
I also bought some posters. I know. I bought a lot of Blu-ray. I bought a lot of DVDs.
But the thing is,
I went to the Funimation booth, which you can buy that shit on Funimation's website.
Right.
Probably for cheaper too.
That was your first convention here, though. Everyone falls in that.
Yeah.
Everyone does. When I first went to SoccerCon, that was in 2011, 2010. I had cash on me because I used to be a bagger. I was paid in cash only. $300 gone.
Right.
Everything I saw, there were some things that I, without a second thought, I saw like a Gundam Epion action figure, the display model, not even the box model. I said, how much is that? 20. And like I didn't even like negotiate.
Right, that's how I felt. I'm like, oh, I like this.
Bam.
It's a series. I like, boom, yeah.
Bam. Right.
I
bought 3 swords.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Everyone.
I've seen your Zalpactos.
Yeah. Everyone falls in that pit, and.
But I made a point to not
be like
do that
anymore.
again.
Yeah.
Although I spent triple digits this time around.
Yeah.
But it's for things I try to buy like actual art this time as opposed to just merch, because you can pretty much, if you can get it in person, chances are you can buy it online.
Right. So
And usually,
the question now I have is like, what do you think is a better purchase overall at conventions? Things in the exhibitors hall or things in the artist alley?
I think Artist Alley is a better.
Artist alley has stepped it up in the past like decade, right?
Yeah.
It was used to be just art, but now we see clothing, pins,
stickers,
books.
You were really close to buying a Kirby shirt, like a Kirby button up.
It was only a pre-order. But
Yeah.
Art, acrylic stands. A lot of Artist Alley participants have stepped up their
The type of product that they're selling is, there's like, oh, I actually kind of want to buy one of those. That seems actually kind of fun.
Dude, there are artists that are making jewelry, and like there's this one artist that I took a picture of. He made I think it's like, I'm not sure what that material is called, epoxy, but he made actual like props of items that like exist in the gaming world. He made a Warp Star wand from Kirby that looked like actual size.
Yes.
He sold out, and I asked him how much is that? $40, and I was like, that's very affordable, right? And so it's like an artist is actually using these materials that other like companies use and don't put that much love into. They just mass produce it, and it's all like cheap plastic, whatever. And so it's almost as if these artists are aware of how much work they need to put into in order to pull us in, and it's working. On the other side, if you go to exhibition hall, what do you see? Stock shirts, plushies, low quality shirts of this one screenshot from an old anime. It's all the same junk.
Yeah.
So is it worth it? In my opinion, no.
No.
The only thing
Or like DVDs and Blu-rays and all that stuff that you could buy on
Amazon.
You can, yes,
or just anywhere. But these artists, this is, I don't want to say genuine and one of a kind, but you feel better. You buy from them.
I feel like I'm buying a better product.
You're buying a better product, and you're actually like not really helping someone, not to talk down to them, but it feels good buying someone's art to a mindset of they worked hard on this, and they're probably very happy at the way I reacted when I first saw it. And that kind of puts some wind in their sails to continue working hard so that they can make their artist lifestyle sustainable.
Right.
And that does give me a good feeling as well. When I look at something and go, oh my gosh, I love that. And they're like, yeah, this is selling out quickly. And like, I should have brought more. And when I see other artists' booths popping, it kind of makes me happy. I'm just like, good job.
Hell yeah.
Heck yeah. But on the other side, there's some artist booths that are like dead. And you're like, I hope.
Not surprised.
I hope you find more business.
Yeah.
Because not everyone can succeed.
Yeah.
Everyone's tastes are different. We all have our own standards of what we liked. And again, like I looked at your posters and I'm like, whew, amazing. And then the posters you saw of mine, you're like, sweet. Sweet. I'm not.
I am harsh. I'm such a snob.
We need to be
art.
picky though, because we only have so much money.
Right.
We can't buy everything, and I can't support everyone.
No.
Right. And like we work too, and like we have our own standards.
Speaking of work, I guess I should talk about where I've been for the past 3 years.
Oh yeah, damn! I talk too much about
work.
myself. I'm so
I've been
sorry.
a working man.
Tell me about being a
So, starting 2020, I started a different position at my workplace. It was a graveyard position. It's
welcome.
Right. That takes a toll on you. You don't have a social life. It kind of worked during peak COVID because you're not really supposed to interact with people a whole lot. I didn't sleep well, all that stuff. It was hard to make time to record things because, one, I didn't watch a whole lot of anime. Two,
Same.
I don't have the schedule for that shit. But I don't do that anymore. I work during the daytime. While I was working overnights, I got to thinking about like my choices in life a lot of the time.
Damn.
Well, yeah, because there's nothing else to fucking do at night.
Yeah.
Which I know, like
really does mess. With you.
any decisions made past like 1 a.m. are like usually bad, right? But I actually spent a lot of time talking to you because you had a graveyard position for a long time.
It was interesting. I don't recommend it,
I don't either.
but I don't know how I got through it. And it's funny because I was supposed to have that graveyard position for like 2 years, and then when COVID hit, they axed graveyard shit because they're like, we started cutting people out of our company, and they're like, everyone on graveyard needs to go back to morning or swing shift because those morning and swing shift positions were cut. You guys need to fill again. And then they also called us lazy because it's like graveyard. We technically work less hours and we get less work done, but they still have to pay us the same rate. And so they were like, we're losing money just having you guys here. Very funny. And there is actually a point in terms of like health wise, right, that it's actually unhealthy to work graveyard.
It has a serious effect on your mental health. It has a serious effect on your physical health.
The light we get, it messes with our circadian rhythm.
I didn't see the sun for years. I did that.
Did you buy a sleep mask in order to sleep better? Because
no, I thought about getting like shades for my windows.
I got a sleep mask.
Really?
Because dude, it's when you get home. When I got home, it was 6 a.m. The light shining through, and like your body can't really sleep properly when there's light, right? Because your body thinks it's sunny out. We need to go do stuff.
Right.
So I had to put a freaking mask on my eyes just so I could trick my body to think it's nighttime. And then when I wake up, sun's going down, and that just messes with your rhythm in general. It's not good.
Right. I had a hard time sleeping. I would get maybe like 5 to 6 hours of sleep every day.
Ugh.
And that's not good.
Yeah.
No, I did that for 2 years straight. And it got to the point where I was very unhappy. I was very grumpy. My anger flared up a lot. I was really depressed. Somehow I had a girlfriend during this.
Well done.
Right. But then we like separated and that put me in a really deep depression. So all of these things, I just didn't have time for anime. And I think I just had a falling out with anime. And by that extension, having a falling out with like anime podcasting, because like I can't contribute anything to the podcast.
Right.
So now I don't do that. And now I focus a lot more on my mental health. I focus on like my eating, my working out. I want to socialize. I'm trying to get more into the dating scene because I'm getting old. I'm getting kind of lonely.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't we all?
Seriously. But no, being in Nights got me to like really like rethink things. Like it was fun during like COVID at first because I'm like, okay, I don't have to be around people. But the more I did that, the more I'm like, then I realized like, oh, this is like really unhealthy for me, and this is having a really negative impact on me.
All right.
A negative Genshin impact on me.
Yeah.
Hey, got me.
Hey, Jack Reacher.
No, but now we're here. I don't know where I was going with that. I just wanted to vent about that.
Would you say from that lowest point,
I was at a very...
You're at a better place than you are now?
You know how... I'm not going to talk about it on mic, but like I've talked... Through these like past few years, I talked to you the most. I think we got actually like... We were close before. Right. Close enough to hang out with each other, obviously.
Well, we did our nightly calls like during 2020.
We did that like almost weekly, yeah. And it was just like... We were just... Because we were both stressed about like COVID and everything. You were stressed about like your upcoming wedding and all that.
Yeah, I do not want to get into.
I know. I don't really want to bring up, but I just wanted to mention it. Yeah,
I will say like during like planning a wedding was arguably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
I will say you seem a lot more chilled out post wedding.
Yeah, it's really
you were still in that almost like wedding angst phase like last SoccerCon.
Yes.
And now you're just like, hey, Bex, what's going on? And I'm just like, oh, sweet.
Yeah, everything's like gone because like that part of my life is like done. And it took me like a good year to really lay all that anger to rest because I kept on having that repeating thing in my head of like, look how much they put me through all this. Look how much they took away from me. Look what it made me do to myself, kind of deal. And then finally, when I started really like, and I talk to her about it all the time, that am I still dealing with it today? Not as much as I was last year, but I've kind of laid that anger to rest to the point where it's like it's done, it's gone, it's behind me. I'm at a much better place than I was
You've
last
crossed
time.
that bridge.
Yeah, I've crossed that bridge, and don't get me wrong, there are times like I'm just be driving by myself like back home after work, and it just pops in my head like, oh, remember that one auntie that said this, and then like my veins flare up. But then I finally learned how to like start to breathe and let it go, which is why I'm starting to rekindle a lot of my old hobbies again, because I'm trying to basically recapture what I was before these multiple catalysts entered my life, right? So, you know, like I said, like working out is now back into my routine, and I've recreated my standard, you know. I have, like I said, I'm keeping them kind of a secret at the moment, but you know what my goals are this year that I'm gonna hopefully overcome. And then connected to that is I'm trying to just plan for the future that's probably gonna be inevitable. So that's why I'm in this mindset of like, I went through something really hard a couple years ago, and if I could get through that crap, I'm pretty sure I could overcome what's coming next.
Right.
And I try to make every moment of like pain and suffering as a form of like I'm being bent out of shape and tested to where I know I could come back a little bit stronger. But don't get me wrong, during that year when I was going through all that stuff, I became a lot of things that I deeply despised and hated. But that's as far as I could go with all that. And I don't recommend that mentality for a lot of people, but who knows? Like I always hope everyone else's experience during those really dark times differs from mine. And it seems like you did the same thing.
I was in a very, very dark place.
Yeah.
I was thinking a lot of dark thoughts. But yeah, I realized 2 years in, I'm like, something has to change. I can't do this forever.
It's really mature of you to come to that conclusion, honestly, because some people don't come to that conclusion ever. But you did. You were just like, okay, I think this is not good.
I think talking to you helped. I've always seen a lot of these podcasts as kind of therapeutic in a way.
And it's also therapeutic for other people as well.
Right.
Everyone thinks that they're alone in their own battle, right? And then you end up finding out these people that you hold at such a high standard end up coming out and saying like, no, like I did not like this, I did not like that, I lost this and that, and that's how I ended up here, right? I mean, one person I discovered in 2020 was a professional Ultraman named David Goggins.
Right.
And his story is insane. I listened to his audiobook quite a few times already, and it's just about him going through like arguably like one of the hardest lives you've ever heard, from abuse to all the things he went through mentally and physically, and how he slowly overcame it, but he failed more times than you can count. Right? And now today he's regarded as like the hardest man on earth. He does ultra marathons like nothing. He does ultra triathlons and Ironmans like nothing. And people from the outside look at that guy and go, wow, he's gifted. He's a freak of nature. He's a monster. You know, if only I could be like that. If only I had his circumstances. But he always does these long talks, and he rarely does podcasts, but he always goes on public talks and says, no, when I was growing up, when I was in my early teens, mid-teens, late 20s, I was a baby. You know, I gave up easily. I would cry myself to sleep. I would fill my void and pain with food, donuts, and milkshakes. And like I did not like it. And so he started winning little by little. And I like to think that that's kind of where we're at right now, where it's like we were making the decision to kind of step forward towards a better future, which a lot of people, you know, who knows? Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people right now are going through that, but we can't make that decision for them. I didn't go to you and be like, hey, dude, you need to get it together, right? And you didn't do that to me either. And to other people within our podcast crew, we didn't go to them and say, hey, you guys need to get it together, because when we all log off, we're all...
I think we all kind of like distance. I wouldn't say distance, but we're all on kind of a very long break. It was an understandable kind of break. Right, I think we were all just kind of doing our own thing.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all have our own lives, because when we turn off... That's the thing with a lot of people these days when it comes to social media and technology and all these things. You turn off your phone and your computer, you're left by yourself. And probably one of the biggest tips / lessons that I always tell myself that kind of helped me through even before I met you guys and the podcast and stuff like that, and before I even started getting active on the internet, whether it came to games, Discord, and all that stuff, the one thing I heard a long time ago was you need to kind of get used to being alone with yourself. And some people don't like to be alone with themselves, which is scary. So that's actually something I've been working on even before conventions. Like, you better get used to being alone, because when you are alone, you need to be able to be satisfied with what's in your head. And some people don't get to that point because they're always consuming a piece of media.
They always feel like they're in part of something, yes.
Right. And that they keep it going, especially with like TikTok and like
it's
Instagram.
Like coping.
Yeah, you're coping, but my challenge to people sometimes is like, can you turn everything off, shut the world out, and sit for a couple seconds with their own thoughts? And that's hard for some people. Me, while I'm driving, I could turn off music and just think. And where does your mind go? If your mind automatically goes to a lot of things that are painful and stuff like that, there might be something there that you need to address at some point. I have that too, but they're not as painful as it was back.
You have a lot of intrusive thoughts.
Yeah, always. And everyone does. One of my favorite comedians, Mark Norman, he says something that was a little too real. He does that a lot. And he has like a tick in his head where he always needs a reaction from people. He always needs to make jokes. Some people joke saying that he can't take anything seriously because he'll always just make it funny at the end. But he made a joke once that felt a little too real, which was, I think the main reason why I like listening to music when I go on trains and go on my walks is I hate my own thoughts when I don't have music.
I am the exact same way.
And I was like, that's way too real, dude.
There's very little time during my life where I'm not listening to something, because it's hard just being in silence.
Right. You're probably not alone in all this. That's me too.
That's the thing is, like, you talk about people who like hate being alone. I'm kind of one of those people.
Right.
Where like I've spent a lot of my life just by myself.
Right.
Very isolated. And I've come to not really appreciate, or really come to not enjoy that.
Right.
To the point where like I crave like just social interaction now.
That's good.
But I understand, like, at the same time, you need to have a balancing act where like you have social interaction, but you're also comfortable with your own self.
Right.
I don't know if I'm at a point where I'm comfortable with my own self yet.
But you're pursuing it.
Trying. That's what, like, I'm trying to see if like working out can help me with that, because I'm just kind of alone by myself. I need to be happier with who I am, or I need to be, I wouldn't say content, but just like I need to like myself more. For a long time,
self-love is important.
You know me, I'm always overthinking. I'm always really hard on myself. I'm always apologizing for something that
right.
I thought I did wrong or something.
Yeah.
And I understand. I went on a Tinder date actually. This was actually when we hung out right before New Year's. I was telling you about that Tinder date I went on. I'll tell you more about it later.
Of course. Okay.
The woman I was seeing that night she was very nice to me. She actually lives in Seattle. She told me like very early on, is like, you apologize way too much, and it's going to turn a lot of people off. Not turn people off, but it's going to really hold you back in life. Being so hard on yourself, always being sorry, it's going to hold you back very far in life.
Right.
And it's always kind of stuck with me. So one thing I try to just apologize less, not to be like an asshole or anything.
Of course, but
it's mostly like I'm just trying to be less and less hard on myself, because I'm probably doing fine.
Yeah.
I'm still on this earth. I'm still living. I'm doing fine. I survived. I mean, COVID's still going on, but we survived peak COVID.
We survived quite a bit of stuff.
I'm sure I've been traumatized by it, but
we experienced such a massive shift in the past couple of years that it's really hard for people to realize where we're at.
A shift that was probably going to happen sooner rather than later, but now it's been like sped up.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do get that though. It's like when people are hard on themselves, I feel like that it could also be involved with like a generation thing, because a lot of my friend group, my closest friends that I like hold very dear to me, we all kind of have that in our heads too, of just like we apologize a lot, you know. And we do acknowledge where it's kind of like, hey, like, you know, I get a lot from my friends too. Like, they'll apologize, I'll apologize to them, but we always throw it back and go, no, you're fine. You're good.
Dude, you're good.
Yeah, it's all good. And the thing is, you're not alone in that. Like, I feel like a lot of people within our age range has this thing of like in our heads of like, oh my gosh, I'm such a piece of garbage. What were you thinking?
God, does anyone actually like me? Like,
yeah, like why am I here? You know, and that is something we all individually have to overcome ourselves because, like you said, you know, you're alone with yourself a lot. How often are you thinking about that one mistake I said 5 years ago?
I often think about stuff I said like 5 years.
Same with me. But the thing is like that was a good tip I read online somewhere was, do you think all these people that you're surrounded by remember?
Ever think about those things? They probably
No.
don't give a shit.
No, I don't either. You know, like there are times where I'm just like, oh, I said that one thing. I hope it didn't hurt that person's feelings.
Oh my God, I fucked up on that podcast. I hope people don't like hold that against me or something.
Right, but most people, because of how much content's out there and how much people.
The difference is people don't take things as personally as you think.
Right, and the people who do take things very personally, that's honestly their problem. And if they want to confront it, they're gonna have to confront it with you, and you'll find out. You know, like I've had talks like that with my own friend group already, where it's like, hey, like, you know, like I appreciate this, I don't appreciate that, you know, and having that transparency really does help break that wall down for yourself, and then now you move forward a lot more clear and a lot more calm, right? So for you, that's probably something you're probably going through right now, which is kind of like, okay, this one thing's bothering me, but I need to kind of make it a point to where I'm pretty sure it's not bothering.
They weren't so fucking sensitive, yeah.
Yeah. But it takes time, dude. You can't do this in a flash. Everyone wants instant cure.
People want that instant gratification.
It's not going to happen, you know? And again, like, look how far we've come. And so hopefully...
I like to think that
year-
I'm a better person than I was about, like, start of COVID.
Same.
I like to think that I've improved in a number of ways.
Right.
But I have a long way to go.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to think, am I doing good? I know I'm hard on myself, but
Right.
often people are like, when we worked out today, you're like, dude, you did great. I'm like, I was thinking like, man, I don't know if I did great today. And you're just like, nah, dude, you did great. I'm like,
Yeah. You did virtually almost double of what I usually did, right? In terms of the running and stuff like that. And again, like, dude, look,
I don't want to brag, but I did pretty well with the running.
And this is flat out objectively true. You lost more weight than me, and our bet together back in December was who could lose the most weight. And this is regardless of starting weight, because I am obviously heavier than
Dude,
you.
you're huge.
Yeah, and then like when you kept coming back to me every other week and saying how much you're weighing, how much you're eating, all that stuff, I wasn't making any changes, and I stayed the same from December all the way to end of February. It wasn't until mid-March I started taking my weight loss seriously, because you came back to me and says, yo, I'm 210, and I was like, I haven't lost anything.
Fuck.
So objectively, you crushed me in the weight loss competition, right?
And even then, even when I hear that, I'm just like, oh fuck, I'm not doing well.
I mean, you could tell
I've got like dysphoria hard.
you could tell yourself that all you want, but the numbers don't lie, right?
The thing is, it just makes me work harder. That's the thing.
No, but that's good. You know, we all use that method too.
I'm using the self-doubt to power
if
me.
if you think your whole body dysmorphia is pretty harsh on yourself, take a look at some of those bodybuilders. Theirs is even worse.
Probably
They do talk about it a lot, saying like, even though you're number 1 or top 10 Mr. Olympia, right? Those people still look at the mirrors and go,
God, that's just not good enough.
it's not enough. When we, as people who are not bodybuilders, look at a chiseled body with 8-pack abs and go, look at that.
Or you just look at any like influencer on Instagram, you're just like, fuck.
Yeah, and that's a big.
And that's been my problem, is I always compare myself to others when I really shouldn't.
That is a huge problem that everyone has.
Yeah.
But I think right now we are doing a really good job just trying to improve ourselves. We're trying to improve ourselves with knowledge, with this.
We should probably talk about that.
I feel like a lot of people are noticing, like, why is there
a book?
Is there a book, and why is it of a cute girl hanging onto a tentacle? For those of you who don't know, this is the history
Is
of...
it a tentacle?
It is.
Yeah,
It's a banana, right?
We'll just say it's a banana.
It's a banana. So for those of you who don't know, like... So thanks for being with us so far in this podcast. That was a little too deep.
Good hour in, yeah.
Good hour in. But the main reason why we're here is this book is from Faku that we both bought together at KomoriCon 2022.
And we were like, hey, why don't we just do we were like, we wanted to do like an in-person podcast for a while.
Right.
And then we were like, why don't we just talk? If we want to talk about hentai, we got to just talk about something a little bit different this time.
Right.
So
because everyone's heard all the other episodes of us talking about, ooh, this is lewd.
ooh,
this is
hot.
But at this point, like, we need to be a little more mature and be like, okay, let's
actually talk about like real things here.
Right. So this book is called The History of Hentai Manga. We both bought it at the same time, and we told ourselves, let's finish this book before SakuraCon so we can have a book club discussion. Right. How far are you in the book? Be honest.
I read from like chapter 3 to chapter 8, I think.
I am from chapter 1 to chapter 2.
So I did read a lot, and I read about 30 pages a day within a month.
How much did you retain?
That's the thing. So here's the thing about this book. I feel like we're gonna totally drop the ball.
I know, yeah. Well, the thing is, we didn't make any announcements to the audience about.
We wanted to. I was gonna keep this like, I was just gonna like upload I was gonna edit the video and then upload it to the secret channel with all the members in it. Just be like, hey, we're dropping a new hentai episode.
Oh God, but
because like in the past we've done like big announcements like
marketing.
Yeah.
But I will find time to read this.
I want to read the first 2 chapters, but I'm just not into boobs that much.
So
I mean, I actually am into boobs, but just like I don't know if I'm into the discussion of boobs in this.
So to give
book.
you a summary of the first 2 chapters, which number 1, it's very fascinating.
Should we talk about how we felt about the book just in general, like the parts that we read?
Let's just get after it. I mean, you've read more than me, so you have a lot more going on here.
And I will say why I had trouble like retaining information is because it's kind of a dry read. It's also a lot of like just a lot of info dumping about stuff, and there isn't, I don't know, a whole lot of like, I guess a take on all of this, like if that makes sense.
Analysis.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, there is analysis, but like it's just like a lot of just raw information, and I'm like,
so you're right. That's what I went through in the first couple chapters about boobs.
It feels very scholarly.
Yeah, because in there they were.
I feel like I'm actually reading like a textbook about this.
Right, and that's one thing I was encountering when I was reading. Like, there was like a couple paragraphs that was about what was allowed in terms of showing nipples in some of these shonen manga series or all these other romantic manga series. They had pictures, obviously, to show what they meant, but they were referencing like, oh, this one manga from 1984, blah, blah, blah magazine, chapter whatever. You could see that this artist used this method of showing nipples. Even though it's not showing it, you see a silhouette. And they do that multiple times where they're basically citing all these sources. And it's so much info dumping that I feel like I'm not learning anything.
Right.
The only
I feel like I need to have this is not like the most accessible book for just, in a way, a lot of these things I already kind of knew.
Okay.
Once they go into like censorship stuff, because obviously we've read up on censorship a little bit. We already have our own opinions about that.
Of course.
We're all familiar with like, in later chapters they talk about censorship and like how like say dicks were censored and all that stuff, and we've all noticed how dicks were censored, and
it's a big meme.
Yeah, it's a big meme.
Big fan of the black bars.
Right, the black bars are pretty funny.
Yeah.
They actually call those pieces of seaweed, because they look like yeah, like dried seaweed like things. I think that's in one part of the book they refer to it as seaweed. I was like, oh, that's actually pretty funny.
That's very funny. But that's the kind of stuff I want to learn about.
Right.
Yeah. But another fascinating thing, even though the boobs chapters are
if I can finish my point. This feels like a book for people who don't know much about hentai. And if you already know a lot about hentai, then you're like, well, I know this. Yeah, I'm aware of what this.
About us, though?
I'm like, God, we are just fucking degenerates.
Right. Like, oh, you know that the first like iteration of anything that was lewd in Japan was the squid painting. It's like, yeah, everyone's seen that.
Everyone knows that. Yeah.
Everyone knows that. How crazy is that, though? Well, but the thing that is fascinating with me so far is the fact that I get to kind of learn what fans were into back in those days.
Yeah, trends are very different back then than they are now.
Right. I don't know what the trends are today. I think the trend right now is just being blatantly open about what you're into.
Right, because, censorship is a lot different now than it was back in the day.
Yes. But that's all I was able to retain because my bookmark's right here. That's all I was able to retain so far. So for you, is there anything else that stuck out in the couple chapters in the last couple chapters?
There's a whole chapter about tentacles.
Okay.
So I guess we should say that
hit me.
a lot of the content in this book, a lot of that, and just I guess hentai in general, tends to be kind of rapey. It's hard. I don't know how else to say it. Like
Warning.
a lot of, content warning. Yeah. A lot of it is
Trigger warning, all that stuff.
a lot of it is like just kind of. It makes me uncomfortable reading about it.
Really?
Well, because like I don't actually consume that much hentai anymore. The last hentai I guess I was reading was the stuff.
Oh boy.
The stuff at Sakura-con. I just don't read doujins anymore.
Right.
And it's like,
would you say we're desensitized at this point? Because there's so much
I'm
out there.
desensitized, but now that I'm just like reading a whole book about it, it's like all the stuff they're talking about seems to be these like really like creepy, gross situations. Like the whole tentacle thing is kind of rapey in and of itself.
And you have to keep in mind, this was content that was available back in the early 80s and 90s and stuff like that. And has things changed back then since now? What do you think?
I mean, I don't really keep up with it, so I don't really know off the top of my head.
Okay.
But as someone you read sometimes.
I read sometimes now, not as much as I used to again.
It's funny that we're doing a hentai episode and neither of us are really that well versed in hentai.
I mean, at this point, it's
not that we've ever claimed to be experts, but we're just like we're just two fucking guys.
Right, we're just two guys. But I would say like the thing that I find interesting at this point in time when it comes to anything lewd and hentai is how accepted everything is now.
Right. Like you could just wear an ahegao shirt and people just know what that means.
Right. Hell, even at work, right? Like I have a mask that I wear at work that says Faku on it.
Right.
And a handful of other workers have walked by, looked at my lanyard or my mask and went, nice. Right. And it's funny because like I'm at this point in my life.
It's like a fun like secret club inside joke kind of thing.
And that's all I care.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing I kind of tell about to my other like worker buddies. It's like I'm a full grown adult now, you know, married, very happy. I don't really see the whole side of like the you watch hentai thing really affecting me anymore. The last time I even cared about that.
What have you got to lose? Yeah.
What do I have to lose at the same time?
Other than your college.
Other
scholarship.
my scholarship. Dude, they're gonna take away my scholarship if they find out I'm really into this type of content. No, it's. I always told myself the past couple of years that it's like, okay, I consume this kind of content, right? The fact that you know about it and you don't absorb this kind of content. My question is always, what are you going to do to me? Bully me? What are we, kids?
Right. It's like you can't. I
can't remember the last time.
You can't really bully someone for being an anime fan now. We can. We as people,
fans and
we as part of the fandom, we can bully other fans.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
they deserve to be bullied.
Oh, for sure. I remember there's this like one L take that I heard a couple weeks ago where one of my buddies said, "Hey, let me ask you something." I was like, "Yeah." Which is better, Naruto or One Piece? I'm like, One Piece. And then he's like, yeah, I got a buddy of mine that says Naruto's like the best shonen of all time. And I was like, cool. He's obviously wrong. And he's like, yeah, we're all roasting him right now. I walked by and the guy was just like,
yeah, we've got our pitchforks ready. We're ready to go.
They're all like hanging out working, and you just hear them like, no, like Naruto's the best doing this, and everyone's like, no,
shut up, bro.
Yeah, it's like, no. It's so funny though. But again, on the other side of it, if I told that group of people like, hey, I actually watch like, you know, all these pieces of content that everyone else thinks is like deemed weird, they go, oh, they were so weird, all that stuff. But it's like, that's not gonna hurt me. What am I gonna do? Oh, you're right, I should stop this. It doesn't really help, right? And then when you go to a convention, you know, you would think a lot of these people would be looking over their shoulder, making sure that their friends don't see them at this certain booth.
I do think it's interesting that there are just booths of porn, and you will see like, open, and then kids will just walk by, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I feel a little. I mean,
there is. I think.
Obviously they do an ID check. But like just like kids just walking by seeing that at such a young age.
Well, dude, look how many skimpy body pillows are up displayed like this, right? You know, you're a kid and all you have to do is turn
of characters of questionable age. Yeah,
that too.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, because I feel like I'm not saying these vendors.
It reminds me of that tweet of like someone's like, all right, some of y'all lie. There's like statistics of like how many people like read like lollymonger or like lolicon stuff,
Oh, boy.
and then someone like quote tweets and is like, okay, some of y'all lying because this is a huge number of people.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and that's the thing. It's first of all, like soccer.
No, I mean like they're lying that they're not lolicons.
Oh.
Yeah, like some of y'all lying about not being lolicons because these numbers are huge. Yeah.
Right. And it's wild because no one wants to get caught in that realm because it's such a can of worms that no one wants to touch. Right?
Oof.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's so funny to me at conventions now. Like again, it's so accepted to see such lewd cosplays and such. Lewd stuff.
When I just see the lewd stuff like just on display for sale, I'm just like, I actually like feel kind of like a little uncomfortable by it. I wouldn't mind if there was a whole like maybe like a whole room full of like content like that.
I think that'd be more appropriate.
I think it would.
Right.
I'm not going to get into the conversation of like more revealing cosplays. I think that's
another episode.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Right. We haven't yet. Remember my idea way back where I wanted to do a cosplay episode and I want to invite one of those pro cosplayers to.
We got to get Jessica Negri on here.
Yeah. Dude, I forgot how many times we said that. We're going to get Stella Chu, Jessica Negri on here. We're going to get Vivid Vision on here. I hardly think they want to talk to us. Let's be honest.
We're just two fucking guys. I know. I don't know. Here, her partner seemed pretty friendly with you when you visit her.
That was so random.
That was so weird.
That was so random when
He was like, "What's up, bro?" And I'm like,
I took a picture of her and they're like, "Hey, how's it going?" I was like, "I don't even think I should be sitting with you guys."
Yeah, I'm out of your tax bracket. What the fuck?
That's a good way to describe it. But it is crazy now that it's so accepted to have all these like lewd stuff going on. And in my opinion, I think it's pretty cool. I remember like Trash Taste, like they were discussing that, like they were doing like these big confessions. Like a Giga was talking about how there was like him and their buddies were at a bar. This is way a long time ago. We're talking like I think like mid 2000s.
Jesus.
Right. And then they were doing like a drunk confession session at a bar and like, all right, blah blah blah, drink and all this stuff. And then one of their friends said, "Oh yeah, I've actually pleasured myself to watching anime pornography," and the entire table turned on him and like, "Oh, gross."
See, if you said that now, there's just like, "Oh yeah, everyone does that."
So yeah,
be like, "Yeah, I did that yesterday. What the fuck?"
Funny because Giga followed suit and he stepped back. He's like, "I'm not saying anything. I'm gonna let him get roasted."
Right.
He did too, but he would never admit it because of how much hatred he got in that direction. But you're right. Nowadays, today,
people are pretty open about it.
Yeah, very open
maybe
about
a little too open about.
I mean, do you draw a line at some point?
I mean, I would just not be like weird about it. That's the thing.
That's what I tell my buddies at work. The only thing we do
like, there's nothing wrong with consuming porn. Like, say what you will about maybe the effects porn might have on one's brain, like a porn addiction.
Yeah,
that's a completely different thing.
Being
but just in general, just don't be weird about it.
Agreed. The only thing I do at work is I just nod. Like we do this one nod where my buddy will be like, "Hey, like look at this poster," and I look at his phone and I'm like, "Nice." And we just look at each other like, and then that's it. But that's pretty much as far as I take it publicly. I never go up to people and say things like, "Oh,
if I'm going to be honest, I actually look back on like past hentai episodes with a little bit of regret.
Great. Feel free to take them down because we all have positions in our lives.
Yeah, I've said some things that I thought were like, I should probably just cut certain pieces out at
Your
this
call.
point.
I mean, I asked you to put those videos on age restrictions,
which they should have been in the first place.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But I did it. I was like, I wanted more people to watch it because I thought, oh, if you don't age restrict it, more people will watch it. I'm trying to get more views because at the time, they were the most watched, episodes.
We were grinding,
dude. We were grinding. And we were like, yo, we got to get more people to watch it, right? Dude. And now I'm just like,
that shows growth.
Yeah,
we're maturing now.
And now I'm just like, oh, I mean, I also am just, I overthink things, and I'm generally hard on myself, and I'm like, oh, I probably should have said certain things better. But the hentai episodes, I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
You were like, oh,
this is crazy. I'm like, I never want anyone I date to ever know that I did a podcast.
For sure. I mean, no one at my work, a lot of people at work know.
I'm almost forced to date someone who knows about anime and hentai and is okay with that, just because I have that content there, right?
I mean, it's not the biggest content where people can go look and you go, hey.
It's not the biggest red flag ever, but like I've probably said things that you just keep to yourself.
Right. And so, I mean, I do I'm very happy that you respect my opinion on like, hey, like, can you like restrict those? Because right now in my life, I'm in a transition of moving to a higher position within my own life, within my own like community, and I think I should have my stuff a little cleaned up and tightened up now. And again, back then we were a little immature.
We were like,
young, right?
We did the first one, I was like 22. I didn't give a shit. Now I'm like 27. I'm like, yeah, I'm like an adult.
Right. And at the same time,
I actually have to think about the consequences that my actions have.
Right. And I don't think anyone has a perfect track record when they're growing up as,
Nobody
as
does.
a young adult.
But that doesn't stop some people from just being like,
that's a different conversation.
Yeah, I know. I know.
But it's we've grown out of it, and like going back to it, it's not like you're growing out of anime, but it's like you're kind of moving on to other things that you deem to yourself a little more important, right? If we were to take away anime from us right now, we're still gonna be us. We're still gonna be. I used to think to myself, oh, anime is all I know about now, and this is who I am. But now I'm starting to see myself as someone who just loves comedy, making people
I just like
laugh.
things, yeah.
And I like working towards a goal that I set for myself. And a goal to set for yourself within the anime community is kind of hard to do, because like, what do you have to do? I want to watch all the anime out there. Well, that's easy to achieve because you have to just sit and open your eyes.
I know. I also had a lot of free time like back then. I didn't have like a full-time job. Now that I have a full-time job and then I dedicate time to working out
and bettering yourself.
Yeah, and bettering myself, or like you're going on an occasional like Tinder date or something.
And we're not saying that anime is a waste of time. Absolutely not.
But it's like it's just not a priority anymore.
Yeah.
And as I was watching anime, I was part of an anime podcast, so it was like incentive to watch anime,
of course,
and an incentive to watch podcasts. They kind of like
now we don't have an incentive to watch anime except for that moment of, did you watch that one thing? I did. Oh,
do you guys want to do an episode on like the upcoming like Makoto Shinkai film?
Yeah. Which I can't wait to do. I'm still a big fan.
That's probably going to come out before this comes out.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. But overall, my priorities are other places. Again, I talk your guys' ears off all the time about it, but I'm really into the One Piece card game, and like how I was into Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, but I'm into this card game so much to where I'm trying to push myself to a level above what I used to play in terms of other card games. I really do want to work hard enough to the point where I could get to a higher level of elite play. And I actually am very proud of myself because at the beginning of last month, I entered an online tournament where we played via webcam, and I got featured on the tournament organizer's website. I can show you that footage after this.
Show me. Pull it up.
Hold up. Give it a goog. And my actual name's on there. But like, I played in front of a lot of people on Twitch, and I won on stream, and I'm very proud of myself for that. First of all,
that's awesome.
My heart was beating through my throat.
I bet.
I was so scared. You could see my like hand shaking.
I could smell the sweat through the screen.
Yeah. And when I won, I was very relieved. But you know what the toughest part was that I need to take on the chin as like just someone who's trying to better themselves? Commentators and the chat bar on the side were roasting my play. They were like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. This guy could have won earlier. This guy is, what the heck is he doing? All that stuff. Both these players are trash, right? The other player should have won, but that guy won. And like, it hurt for a good hour. I was like, but at the same time, I'm like, hey, I still won. I took the safe way out, and I'm still here. And I take a lot of pride in the grind in order to become a better card player. So I'm not making any big announcements, but it's just like I do see myself at some point reaching a higher level on a tournament, on a world stage at some point. I love the game so much that even though I don't do well, I'm still enjoying playing. And this local shop I play at, a handful of those players have already like won big name like titles within the card game, One Piece card game community, and they already have so much experience under them. They're like unbeatable. So there's a lot of like heavy, strong players where I go to, and that gives me so much confidence because I could play with them. I could pick their brain, and everyone's very welcoming. There's no elitist mentality of, oh, get good. I know that's a meme because whenever you ask someone a question like, hey, how do I do this? They just go, oh, just get good, right? One of the guys I versed, he beat me badly, right? And he was one of the best in the shop. He beat me badly. he was the nicest player I've ever encountered, to the point where when he was labbing and saying, hey, can I look at your deck? I gave him my deck. He looked through it. He talked strategy. And then he says, hey, you should add this to your deck. I told him I only have one copy. I didn't pull anymore and I didn't buy anymore. He went to his binder collection, gave me those cards for free. He's like, here, take them. I have too many. And I looked at him with such gratitude, like, please don't do this. Like, I'm so grateful for the knowledge you've given me. Don't do this. And he's like, no, it's fine. You're a fellow player. Take it. And that's what almost made me have so much admiration for the community, because they were so accepting of someone who's trying to learn. Mm-hmm. So there's my rant on card games. Sorry. I'm so sorry. But that's what's been taking up so much of my time. Me and my wife play all the time. We play for stuff too. Like, oh, loser buys this. Loser eats. Like, you know, I choose the place to eat.
Force feeds, yeah.
Force feeds, yeah. But check out One Piece card game, guys. There's no product. There's more product coming. That's basically all I got in terms of that. I think we're all caught up with ourselves now, man. Like,
all right.
What are you thinking about in the future now?
Oh, Jesus.
Trying to get shredded. Aim high. Aim high. You're going to be shredded. At the rate you're going, you're going to be strong.
I would like to be... I'm working on my, like, you know, self-improvement. That includes my self-image, including on how I feel about myself personally.
You said that you don't have one near you, but have you really looked to see if there's a boxing place near you?
I think there might be one, but it's open like one day a week, and I'm like, it's like on a Tuesday, and I'm like,
they're probably not getting much traffic, yeah, because it's like costs so much money to keep the place open.
Yeah.
What about like MMA or like?
There's very little like actual fighting in my city.
No jujitsu, nothing.
There might be. I might have to look into that.
I'm not trying to force you.
But I looked at like strictly boxing.
I feel like if you end up joining a community like that, you're gonna end up finding a friend group that you're really gonna meld with. Especially since if you pick up such a brutal sport like that.
Which is something I need to do. I need to pick up like more friend groups, because for a long time I just had...
Yeah. You just said me.
Yeah.
Just me.
You know, for a long time I kind of did. I don't like making like work friends.
I don't like work friends either.
Yeah.
Don't get me. I have friends.
A lot of them aren't my age, and I don't really want to hang out with old people.
Ooh, that's tough.
I know.
See, the people, you know, I've actually had went out to dinner with a few coworkers, you know, because we're actually all in the same age.
I've hung out with coworkers like years ago, and they were cool. But then they just moved on to a different job, and I'm like,
there you go.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. And like my coworkers, we actually do meld together in some shape or form because we're all anime fans, right? And we all play the same games, and some of them even go as far as like, oh, hey, meet me online. Let's play some, you know, Call of Duty or something like that. Or like Chivalry, or I got a lot of my coworkers into the
Chivalry of a Failed Knight.
Yeah, dude. I gotta show you that game. It's really fun. I gotta show you Chivalry. I think you'll like it. But like, I showed a lot of them One Piece card game, and I see them at my local shop now, and it's the coolest. But I think that's one thing that's obviously going to help you is like when you join like a hobby of some sort, and
the thing is, I need to find new hobbies. So I've been watching movies, right?
It's hard to find someone within the movie community to be friends with, because movies is you watch. You just watch. You're not talking to someone next to you.
Well, you could talk about movies afterwards.
Well, who are you going to find?
Well, I was about to say, I've been going to my small indie theater downtown where I live.
You're a major regular there, man.
I am.
Nice.
To the point where, like, I know all of them by name. I have kind of...
First and last name basis?
No, I don't know their last name.
Oh.
But I talk to them a lot.
Yeah.
And I've actually went and saw a movie with one of them once.
Oh.
Yeah.
Go on.
Although I think she may have interpreted it as a date. I don't know.
Oh.
Because then I found out she liked me on Tinder, and I'm like, oh, I don't feel that way about you. Oh. I know. Oh. I know.
Dude, I didn't know you had this many candidates around you, dude.
No.
Man, I'm one and done. You know that, right?
I'm actually more into one of the other girls that work there.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't think she feels that way about me. So,
dude,
yeah.
I feel like you're so much more battle-hardened in the dating scene because
because your story for that is it's a little bit easier.
Thank you. No. It's my wife, for those of you who don't know, one and done. First girlfriend, first fiance.
It just kind of fucking happened.
Yeah, and that's kind of so. With her, like, she is kind of like envious of the fact that I'm someone who has never dealt with heartbreak. Have I gotten...
oh, man, I've dealt with heartbreak.
So, like, I've never in my life encountered, like, a form of rejection or a form of like a date. I never even been on a
like
date.
a bad date,
Yeah,
like an
never
unsuccessful date or anything.
Never experienced it.
Yeah.
Because I was so scared growing up going on one. I was
So was I, and then I realized
so
like,
scared.
oh, I have to do this at some point, or else I'm just gonna be lonely for the rest of my life.
Yeah. And to summarize what happened with me and her, I just saw her at a local community event. Went up to her. I already knew about her. I knew her brother more.
You had amazing Riz.
What Riz? What?
Riz. So
is
Riz
that?
is like a Gen Z term for like game. You just had like all this confidence on
No,
you. Like,
no, I did not.
hey, babe.
No, I did not. I already kind of knew her. I knew her brother more because we both played Yu-Gi-Oh together a lot. But I went up to her and all I said was, "Hey, it's been a while since we talked. What have you been up to?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm a dietitian." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. You know, I like to work out. You can help me lose weight because I'm so chunky and I want to get abs one day. Do you like cream barbecue?" She's like, yeah." I'm like, "We should get some sometime. Give me your number." That quick.
Dude, that's Riz.
But the reason why I did that, because I had this thought beforehand. I was like, quit being scared. Let's see what happens. Worst case scenario is I fall into a depressive state for a month straight. Nothing new. And here we are today. So yeah, that's pretty much all I could say about that. But it seems like you're out there, man. And I think that's really
it's
cool.
cold and damp out there. It's a cold world out there.
I mean, you're doing fine. You're doing fine, man.
It's
You're
fine.
here. You're on the
I'm
rise
figuring
now.
out what I want.
Yeah, you do know what you want, right?
Well,
Not yet?
like I said, I'm figuring out.
All right, you're good.
Nah, but I've come across some people that I really like. They didn't feel that way about me, and that's real tough. But I don't want to talk about that too much. Well,
Of course,
maybe we'll save that for a future project. Well,
Yeah,
you never know. God, what else was I gonna say? Oh, we should probably talk about the book again.
God, dude, we're all over.
Speaking of women, there's actually a whole chapter with it's a discussion with a bunch of like women readers who read. There's actually the thing about this book is it's very male perspective on these.
I am not surprised.
Yeah. And I wish there was more of a woman's perspective on these things, because women read smut too.
Yeah.
They read a lot. There's actually a lot more like, female smut readers than you realize.
Right. And artists and writers.
Exactly. There's so many people in that community, but they're just not given like the perspective or the spotlight.
We make assumptions like, oh, that's weird. Guys are the weird ones and horny ones, not women.
Women be horny.
Right.
As long
it's great.
They be shopping and they be horny.
Stop. I'm not starting this again. They be shopping, of course, all the time.
Women be shopping.
Why?
I don't know.
But what about that though? About the women perspective?
Like they were talked about like things they don't like type of tags or content that they don't like.
Okay.
Some of them really don't like more rapey content.
I don't think anyone should be into that, but there is a market. There's a market for it if it exists that much, which means people are consuming it. So
yeah, maybe they don't realize that it's rapey. There's a good amount of dudes, and I'm just gonna focus in on dudes because I'm a dude that may not realize. They may have a very basic understanding of what consent is, all that kind of thing, and they may realize, oh, that kind of depiction in porn is kind of sexual assault, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
and this goes for like live action porn too. A lot of that.
This also goes for a lot of anime that is not pornography.
Yes.
Because I've been wanting to do like a video about this, but I do not know how to present it without it being pretty harmful.
So here's how I see it. I think I don't want to be mean, but a lot of anime fans don't have a lot of social interaction. A lot of it is guys, and a lot of them don't interact with like actual women, so they might like get all of their like, I guess interacting with women from like anime or porn.
Oh boy.
And they may take the wrong ideas from that. You know what I mean? I don't want to be mean, but I'm not saying it's a lot of anime fans. I'm just saying I think there are some who just don't understand social cues. They don't really get out a whole lot. It's just whatever.
That's going to eventually happen with this fan base.
I don't know where you were going with your point. But
I mean, the point I was just getting at was just, well, it's really, really tough to address that problem without it making it look like you're trying to either solve it or like attacking people.
right, and I think I just attacked people.
well, like the thing is, it's
Call me Aaron Yeager because I'm about to attack on people.
shut up. The thing is that when you watch anime, a lot of people need to make the connection that obviously that stuff isn't real, but you need to realize that those are things that shouldn't be copied or done in real life. Because if we were to look at by the letter of the law about sexual assault, it is not okay to make contact with someone without their consent anywhere.
In any type of most types of
any type of
content.
situation.
Yeah.
But you watch a happy-go-lucky anime between a group of girls, and you see the generic grab from behind move, right?
Right.
And it's like, oh, so funny, bright lights, haha, very funny.
Yeah.
But by the letter of the law, that is
Sexual
assault.
It is played for laughs, but that doesn't make it any less,
It's not right.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like my problem with it is if we're shaming sexual assault across the board, like first episode of Goblin Slayer or like all these other series where the main character is just looking up people's skirts,
Right.
we should be shaming the other side where it's, oh wow, you're so big, or oh, like I tear off your clothes and peek on you, and it's supposed to be funny. Yeah, the girl punches the guy off the building.
I don't really find that like very funny anymore. Like all of that stuff is like,
yeah, and it's so interesting now because if we're all against those actions because it does leave off.
Why do those actions keep perpetuating in like our content?
Correct.
Because people obviously get something out of it, or else they wouldn't.
It could be a different culture, like in Japan, because Japan is still going through.
Japan be sussing a little bit sometimes.
Of course, I mean, there's the women's only carts in Japan, and like that just screams like this is such a problem. In terms of just women being uncomfortable in every situation in public, that we have to take a stand against it and actually change the culture a bit. I saw this one video on my feed where some foreigners were accusing a local of kind of like touching them on the train, right? And they were like yelling at them saying, hey, what you're doing is wrong, all that stuff. But there was no repercussion. The guy just waved it off and went, oh, okay, I'm very sorry. Have a nice day, and walked away. No police, no repercussion. He's probably going to do it to someone else, right? And I feel like that's just a problem other countries have to deal with in themselves. And do we have the power?
We have an interesting situation where we're having this like cultural problem.
Right.
But it's based off the consumption of content from a totally different culture.
Right. I can't convince another country that what they're doing is wrong. They're going to look at me and go, you don't live here. You have no standing or word here. Get out. And then when you look at the country from the outside, you're like, that's so wild. But in that country, imagine what they're all thinking at that moment when something crazy is going on. They're all trying to solve that problem. But like, isn't it wild? Like camera phones in Japan, the government and the companies made a deal to where it's impossible to disable the clicking sound of the photos, because that's how prominent it is for some of these horrible people to take illegal photos of other people without their consent. That's how big the problem was, right? And it just horrifies me that that's still a battle that hasn't been decided yet, because then there's the other side that they're trying their best to get their content in public in that shape and form. And I can act all worried and be all like, oh, that's horrible. But in reality, I am not in that conversation over there, that I'm obviously not going to be able to change anything. So what do? I just have to just let it be.
You can't really do much by yourself.
Right. I don't know. Not sure if this is a depressing end to this, but like just...
I was going to say, yeah, no, there's...
This is getting kind of... It's getting queefy. It's like, I don't know what to do, man.
Ooh, it's getting real farty in here.
Yeah. Again,
someone open a window.
Big fan of Mark Norman. That's how he describes everything. Like, I don't want to be queefy, but like, here's the thing. Here's how I feel about this.
Right.
I don't know.
How long have we been going?
Hour 40, man. This is a long one. But
Jesus.
I think I'm ready to end it.
Okay. Is there anything you want to talk about?
Closing We will do this on another podcast, but I do want to do a deeper dive on the decline or increase in conventions. I'll just make that note right here. But I love the.
Do you think we met our hentai quota to call this a hentai episode?
All right, we'll end it with this. What's a tag that you're into right now, even though you're not consuming content? Just be honest.
I'm a big foot guy.
Okay, no, same.
Yeah,
Same.
I have become one like over the years.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. I'm about it as well. For me, I like it better when they're in stockings.
Yeah.
So stockings. And
See, there's never a manga that's
I'm still in
about that in particular. It's always like an added tag.
Right.
Because you
If
know,
it's
with
the
doujinshi, they'll just add whatever. Like if there's like a whole panel with like one type of body part or one type of thing,
the tag
they will
gets
just
in.
they'll put that in there.
Dude,
which
the
is
tags
bullshit.
the tags are paragraphs, but in reality, if you see that a certain tag that you enjoy, you want at least a good 60% that content to be focused there.
That's what I fucking get.
Okay, fine.
That's what I unzip my pants for.
Okay, sure. Okay, no, I'm in that same field. Oh, okay, cool. All right, that's all we have to mention. There you go. Now it's a hentai episode because
There you go.
some people
we have to
just-
meet our quota.
gotta meet our quota. I don't know how we meet that quota. We should have like
We made up a quota.
You need to put like a meter that says like hentai.
It's like the moist meter, like
you know, like
the horny meter.
just
Like we're like, oh, we're depleted. We got
and then
boobs.
Oh, yeah. It's like when we're doing our deep talk about.
Oh, you know what it should be? It should be like blood going into the.
I'm done.
Oh my god.
I'm done.
Yes.
I'm done.
Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. You ever seen the GIF
So soft, right?
from the Discovery Channel GIF where it's I gotta show you
I
the
have
GIF.
no idea what you're doing. Stop. We're done here.
Yes. Yes. All right, everyone. This has been the Tokyo Podfathers. We didn't introduce our names. My name is Bex.
Bacon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll see you.
This was a fun one.
We'll see you H6 whenever that comes out.
When
Like
it comes
a
out.
couple
We'll-
years. I don't know.
We're working on it. Thank you.